What's up? Attempt to do like a bit of a podcast before the end of the night, which is going to turn into just being a practice podcast, but that's okay because it's like the third one because of some technical difficulties on the computer. But anyway, I don't know if you saw it. Hold on. Yeah, so forget it about the computer. But yeah, I was just doing a podcast about like we're trying to make sound at the same time and like do sorry for the messed up screen on that phone, but making sound and having a sort of message on the podcast, which because I wasn't watching the background on the screen before when streaming the podcast, the streams turned off a couple of times, so it was not possible to fulfill the rest of the video necessarily podcast in essence. So I'll just try to run through it real quick, and we're just going to do the same thing again on this, just try to do it real fast, which is just to try to get it done. But this is still just a test. It's got to be, because it's just too short, it's too crammed. I don't know if you're going to hear this audio after all. That's why I had these earpieces on to improve the audio. But regardless, the message in the last podcast was about value, and value that people, consider to be value in society, meaning like the way that they find value in other people in the system is like, it's not that it's flawed, although it's not about that. It's about more the opposite of what's intuitive. Is not just within society, but in a lot of things, because in a lot of ways socialization is sort of intuitive, and if people are like alone in public, it's looked at as weird, which is discouraging of what is hopefully supposed to be the essence of what feels somewhat to be the truth, which is that being alone is more so along the lines of the greatest, purpose serving activity, that is in contrast to the promotion of socialization at all times and all given minutes of the day, and that's like a valid or valuable way to try to connect and link one instance to the next with so interaction that's socialing, like a social chain from 1 minute to the next, constantly stringing down the line. And if that chain breaks for a minute, then it's like a problem somehow, and that's just peculiar and strange and interesting, and interesting for what it's worth. Whereas like the hopeful goal to just try to conceptualize like the opposite being true in terms of like the nature of life and value being like able to like connect with nature, for example, or connect with the universe, for example, as an individual, finding the depths within the self, connecting to those things on a consistent, regular basis, not just through meditation, but just like as a whole, connecting as a body, as a person, as a being, as a source, as an energy, as an individual to external energies, and like kind of tapping in, almost like connecting your outlets, like you have sockets, outlets for energy, like, and all those kind of naturally connect and link up and sync up with the outside world when you're alone, when you're focused on those things, when you're focused on the external in essence. And it's not, it's just not necessarily intuitive to, for some reason, what the typical process is. And as time goes on, like there's an interesting natural progression of that to occur also, which is that in life, like people tend to, I'll just play some of these sounds live, but like, people drop out as time goes on. Like time goes on and people drop out of life, like for sure. Like, and so it seems like a natural progression to become more alone. Like it's almost like the inference of life, to get more connected with the universe and nature. You just focus on things and dial in with the right energies. You only have so much time in the day anyway, so it's like you got to find like the things that are most resonate with the core of that, you as a person, if you will, just to try to like find that entails getting really, really, really alone so you can clear out the rest of the stuff that is, you know, sometimes hard to do. And so it's just sometimes depressing for sure to have that aloneness, and it's looked at as like depressing and almost publicized as depressing and negative and things like that, to the extent where it almost convinces people to feel negatively about it because it's publicized that way after all. Whereas if you really sit in it, if you take the time to think about it and like marinate in it more or less, like alone, like outside in the woods or the wilderness, it starts to feel really good and okay, and be beyond that, better than that, because it's like an essence of not only not needing people, but they're not like barking in your ear also about something that could be negative, or it could just be distracting from finding the optimization of oneself from an internal perspective and having the ability to just reflect on that from finding it in the first place. You can't find it in the first place if there's too many distractions at all given times, which is literally, you know, statistically acknowledged as there being like thousands of distractions all day, all the time, in normal societies, or bigger societies, I mean, from just constant influence of distractions and attention, you know, attempts to get attention, in other words. Anyway, so we'll just try to phase that out and fade it out with a little bit of more of the jam stuff going on here. I don't know if you can hear any of this, but try to add to it. I'll see if I can add a little track to the vocal. I didn't mean to just push record, but we're recording that. So in the future podcasts, we're going to try to have the sound connect to the computer in essence, so that it's more like able to go along with the whatever's going on the, like, added at the end. Whatever song is being made or sound is being made, it can add to the end of the little insert or the chat or the podcast situation, so that it, like, maybe there's a little sound at the end. It's kind of like a way to fade out whatever was being sort of in the background recorded. Just play it at the end. So let's see here. Whatever just linger through, following up this try, if you lose functionalities, where's the through, and let's try once anew. Alright, hopefully the sound connected to to end this little session of a chat. Alright, thanks again, Dinky Tehc, peace. Promote fostering for shelter animals and the Dinky Tehc brokerage as well. Last little promotion at the end. Alright, thanks, bye.